Spiritual Theology by Jordan Aumann. Chapter 12, Grades of Prayer. We are indebted to Saint Teresa of Avila for the clearest and best classification of the grades of prayer. Her concept that the intensity of one's life of prayer coincides with the intensity of one's charity is based on solid theology and was confirmed by St. Pius X, who stated that the grades of prayer taught by St. Teresa represent so many grades of elevation and ascent toward Christian perfection. Footnote: Letter of March 7, 1914. These grades are 1. Vocal prayer, 2. Meditation, 3. Affective prayer, 4. Prayer of simplicity, 5. Infused contemplation, 6. Prayer of quiet, 7. Prayer of union, 8. Prayer of conforming union, and 9. Prayer of transforming union. The first 4 grades of prayer belong to the predominantly ascetical stage of the spiritual life. The remaining 5 grades are infused prayer and belong to the mystical phase of the spiritual life. Vocal prayer. Although we classify the grades of prayer under the headings of ascetical and mystical, there may be a mystical prayer in the early stages of the spiritual life, and there may be a return to ascetical activity on the part of souls who are well advanced in mystical ways. Hence, what is meant by ascetical and mystical signifies that which is predominant, and not that which is exclusive. Little remains to be said concerning vocal prayer, since much of what we have already written concerning the prayer of petition applies to the first grade of prayer. By vocal prayer, we mean any form of prayer expressed in words, whether written or spoken. This kind of prayer is the form used in public or liturgical prayer, but it is also much used by private individuals. St. Thomas gives 3 reasons why vocal prayer is suitable. 1. It arouses interior devotion. 2. It gives homage to God with our body as well as our mind and heart. 3. It gives expression to the spiritual sentiments that flood the soul in prayer. Footnote: Summa Theologiae, Secunda, question 83, Article 12. We should observe that vocal prayer is not restricted to prayer of petition, although petition would surely be included. It likewise includes adoration, thanksgiving, contrition, and all the other sentiments and individual experiences in relation to God. We want to emphasize especially the use of vocal prayer as a means of arousing one's devotion or of giving expression to one's love of God, because this leads to the higher forms of prayer, discursive meditation, and affective prayer. It should also be noted that vocal prayer as the public liturgical prayer of the people of God gives greater glory to God than does private prayer, and has a greater efficacy because it is the prayer of the Christian community. Yet considering the one who prays, the Christian most perfect in love is the one who prays most perfectly. The 2 requirements for vocal prayer are attention and devotion. What we have said concerning the attention required for prayer of petition applies here also. We would merely add that attention may be actual or virtual. Actual attention is present when those who pray have complete awareness of what they are doing here and now. Virtual attention is that which is had at the beginning of prayer and extends throughout the prayer without being retracted, although there may be involuntary distractions. St. Teresa says, quote, that prayer which does not attend to the one it is addressing, and what it asks, and who it is that asks, and of whom it asks, such I do not call prayer at all, however much one may move the lips. For although it is true that sometimes it will be true prayer even if one does not take heed of these things, it is more truly prayer on those occasions when one does. End quote. Footnote: St. Teresa, The Interior Castle. St. Thomas teaches the same doctrine in more technical language in Summa Theologiae, Secunda, question 83, Article 13. The second requirement, devotion, is complementary to that of attention. By attention, we apply our intellect to the practice of prayer. By devotion, we direct our will to God. Devotion, therefore, involves several virtues: charity, confidence, humility, reverence, and perseverance. Devotion is so important to vocal prayer that it would be better to recite one Our Father devoutly than to say many prayers in a routine and mechanical fashion, unless it is a question of prayers that must be recited by reason of some obligation. Devotion should always be the measure for the duration of one's personal vocal prayers, for it is futile to attempt to pray well when one is fatigued. By the same token, public prayers should be arranged in such a way that they arouse the devotion of the faithful and do not cause tedium. In your prayers do not babble as the pagans do, for they think that by using many words they may make themselves heard. Do not be like them. Your Father knows what you need before you ask Him. Matthew 6, 7-9. It is not possible to give any fixed rule or detailed directions for the formulas to be used in vocal prayer. Perhaps the best principle to follow is that given for the selection of books for one's spiritual reading, namely, to use that which is beneficial. The words by which we express ourselves in vocal prayer will vary with our needs and our spiritual sentiments. Moreover, some persons find it difficult to express themselves, and therefore they make use of the prayers composed by others. Objectively, the best prayers are the Our Father, which was taught by us by Christ Himself, the prayers from the pages of the Scriptures, the Hail Mary, Gloria, Psalms, and the prayers in the liturgy. Unfortunately, their constant repetition readily degenerates into a purely mechanical recitation. The necessity of fervent recitation of vocal prayer cannot be emphasized too much, because vocal prayer is one type of prayer that can never be omitted completely, even when one arrives at the height of sanctity. The time comes in the practice of mental prayer when the inferior graces yield to the superior grades, as one progresses in union with God, but this never occurs with vocal prayer. It is always beneficial either to arouse devotion or to give expression to the intensity and fervor of one's love to God. Any attacks on the practice of vocal prayer must, therefore, be interpreted as the sign of an evil spirit, and this spirit has been manifested by many deluded souls and false mystics in the history of spirituality.